I want to tell you about episiotomy, which I do.
We do not routinely do episiotomies anymore.
I'm getting a contraction. He comes near me with the scissors.
Nobody, hopefully today, advocates episiotomy.
The vagina's all stretched open and limp. It's not so much fun when it comes to the fun use of the vagina for the husband or the wife. Fun use of the vagina.
Hey, Wild Mamas. Today we're talking about the most controversial birth intervention out there, the episiotomy. As time progresses, so does medical science. And though this may sound great at first glance, the notion that current medicine is so advanced gives people a false sense of security. Just as practices like drilling holes for headaches and bloodletting were seen as great ways to cure illness once upon a time, the current medical practices that shine today may be proven harmful further down the line. This is what's happening with the episiotomy. What is an episiotomy? Well, on the list of potential birth interventions, this procedure involves making a surgical cut to the perineum during childbirth. It's intended to create more space for the baby and prevent severe tears.
It not alone saves the baby's brain from compression and congestion, but it also preserves the pelvic floor and the connective tissue framework of the pelvis.
But here's where things get illogical. Have you ever tried to tear a piece of fabric? When you make a small cut to the edge, it's much easier to rip in two. So without getting too gruesome, let's just say some folks are catching on. What seems like a simple snip can turn into something much more invasive. So when did the episiotomy come about? The episiotomy first appeared in a medical journal in 1810 and took about 100 years to be commonly accepted. Eventually, it became a routine part of childbirth to aid in quicker deliveries. In the US, by the 1940s, routine episiotomies were widely used. The procedure became the norm during the post-World War II baby boom. In the UK, rates began to rise dramatically in the 1960s. In 1967, 25% of hospital births involved an episiotomy. But by 1978, this number rose to over 50%. Obstetricians use the episiotomy as well as other interventions like induction in order to process women faster in overcrowded labor wards. From 1963 to 1972, at Ireland's National Maternity Hospital, the optimal duration of birth for a first-time mother reduced from 36 hours to just 12. And what about today? Modern research shows that routine episiotomies don't prevent complications as once thought. In fact, they can often do more harm than good. Some midwives even label routine episiotomies as downright mutilation. But this snip isn't long gone. Back in 2000, it was performed in 33% of vaginal hospital births in the US. But since the American Congress of Obstetricians and Gynecologists recommended against its routine use in 2006, this dropped to 12% in 2012. But in China, between 2015 and 2016, the episiotomy rate was almost 42%. As of 2022, episiotomy rates range from 10 to 90% depending on what part of the world a woman gives birth. So even though more studies are coming out showing negative outcomes, the episiotomy is still common practice in many parts of the world. But it's a personal choice, right? Due to strong faith in modern medicine, many women opt for a medically surveyed or assisted birth. Many families assume that hospital and staff will take good care of them, so they simply go with the flow. Today, interventions are just seen as part of the process, and our natural ability to birth doesn't get much credit. And just like any other hospital procedures, there are protocols. And health professionals don't just follow them because they think it's right. They're also managing legal risks. If a patient experiences harm due to a deviation from protocol, they and/or the hospital could be liable. Laws and regulations vary across the globe, of course. But here's where things get dark. Women have reported not being properly informed by their OB about the implications of this procedure before it's administered. Others have reported being pressured or patronized when expressing hesitation, and in some extreme cases, there have been reports of women being cut despite explicit refusal. Like this California woman who sued her obstetrician for assault and battery after he performed an episiotomy against her will. The video of the scene is available on YouTube, but we will not be playing it here as it is quite disturbing. But here is some audio.
No, don't cut me.
Okay. Tiene que hacer el trabajo él.
So you tell him.
Yes, I told her, I'm her mother. I told her.
Next man, I'm gonna.
Come
What do
on.
you mean why? That's my duty.
why can't we
I
try?
am a.
No
I am
sale
the
porque está
director.
grande la cabeza.
Okay.
But why can't we just
Okay,
Why
ya.
can I do it? You can do go home, do it. You go to Kentucky.
Can we just
No,
No,
you
you
cannot
cannot.
fight with the doctor.
Some comments on the video were, "I'm a retired OB. It shouldn't have been done at all." There was absolutely no reason for an episiotomy. As you can hear by the heartbeat in the background, the baby was doing fine. A 2010 survey of women who had given birth in Queensland, Australia, showed over 1/4 of women who were given an episiotomy during birth reported being neither informed nor consulted. Unconsented episiotomies, as well as other labor interventions, are often reported by women, and this issue has a direct impact on the physical and mental well-being of a mother. This can cause a ripple effect. The immediate aftermath of an episiotomy can involve pain, swelling, and a longer postpartum healing period. But the long-term implications are what many women are concerned about. We're talking about potential pelvic floor problems, incontinence, painful intercourse, and psychological impacts too. All of these issues can affect the mother and her family. Natural tearing, though still painful and inconvenient, is generally less severe, less traumatizing, and more, well, natural. A traumatic birth experience can lead to women having extreme levels of anxiety during future pregnancies and can even turn them away from having more children. To make matters worse, birth interventions usually come in pairs or begin a cascade of procedures and effects. Episiotomies are often paired with forceps or vacuum extractions, which come with risks of their own. Plus, as with most surgical procedures, anesthesia as well as other pharmaceuticals are involved to prevent infection and reduce pain. These can all pose risks to the mother and baby.
And some have little or no effect upon your baby, while others, under certain circumstances, can make it dangerously difficult for the baby to breathe. Therefore, the final choice of which anesthetic to use must be left with your doctor.
So why is this still happening? A lack of communication from healthcare providers and the lack of confidence or knowledge on the mother's part are often at the root of traumatizing or negative birth experiences. Some studies also found that older physicians were more likely to perform an episiotomy, as it was more common when they entered the field. And many 21st century women are not prepared for natural birth because we are made to believe through media and the medical system that birth is a process that should be controlled by doctors. Many think these interventions are just part of the process. But while hospitals are designed for efficiency and trauma care, the optimal set and setting for birth is very different. The main needs of a birthing mother are support and a peaceful, secure environment. Before we continue, it's important to note that in some rare cases, birth does become a medical emergency, and we are glad to have hospitals to go to in those cases. The problem women face today is a deep-rooted fear that childbirth is extremely dangerous. But just like other mammals, we are biologically built to birth as part of our innate need to maintain our species. Don't mean to go all Animal Planet on you, but that's just life at its core. In developed societies, birth has been reshaped to resemble an emergency rather than a normal part of the circle of life. Disrupting natural course has its implications. So how can you protect yourself? Many women who want a natural birth choose to forego the hospital delivery altogether, opting to birth at home or a birthing center. But no matter the location, it's crucial to find an OB, midwife, and/or doula you can trust. And by the way, midwives and doulas can also accompany you at the hospital, and they can help steer you towards a birth that reflects your values. Apart from the who's and where's, there are also many other ways to manage risks. Pandora's box of procedures is already opened, so the best we can do is take the time to inform ourselves about what may come up during our birth experience. Naturally, women go into a primal headspace during childbirth. This is a sacred space that should not be interrupted by medical discussions, unless absolutely necessary, for risk of increased stress and physical tension. So no matter which route you choose, ensure you have your birth wishes laid out and understood beforehand, and always have someone you trust by your side who can support you and advocate for you if these things do come up. Nothing should happen during birth without your consent. So there's bad news and good news. The bad news is that childbirth interventions are still the norm in many parts of the globe, and the natural process of birth is often overridden by medical convenience. The fact that this little snip wasn't really questioned until only just recently should make us wonder about other common medical procedures that might be sneaking under the radar. Though this is a scary thought, we are happy to see many medical professionals cutting the episiotomy out of their intervention catalog. And let's keep the good news rolling. There are alternatives to helping the body open up to birth. Techniques like perineal massage, squats and stretches, controlled breathing, and natural positioning can all reduce the risk of severe tearing. Yoga is a great way of taking care of your mind and body. I actually never liked it until I got pregnant, and I couldn't believe how much relief it brought me. It easily became a daily self-care routine, and when my baby decided it was time, I spent most of my early contractions on all fours on my yoga mat, which helped me recenter through the pain. If you want to tune into your body's natural rhythm, check out yoga mats from Home of Wool. There are so many great perks to switching to wool. It's naturally antimicrobial and moisture wicking, unlike foam mats that just hold on to sweat and odors. And with every deep breath, you won't be welcoming harmful VOCs into your body. What's more, natural fiber is grounding and creates a calming environment. And because these mats look more like rugs than exercise equipment, you won't have to roll it up after each use, making it even easier to get down and stretch whenever you have a moment. No excuses. Check out the link in the description and use code mamainthewild for 10% off your custom yoga mat. Continuing on with the good news, most healthcare professionals now advocate for a hands-off approach to perineal management. The real key to reducing fear and tension is trusting your body and giving it the space and respect to do what it is designed to do. For more content on natural birth and lifestyle, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below what you'd like to see in future videos. Remember, bringing life into this world is a beautiful thing, and it is up to you how you go about it. Informed consent is not just crucial during birth, it is just as important during prenatal and postnatal care. Birth is about you and your baby, not someone else's protocol. So make sure to stay informed, stay empowered, and as always, stay wild.